body every time you try to detox. Every story that knocked into ours. I was afraid to look back because then I would have seen what was coming. 1. Dance not beyond the distant mountain. María Isabel, Camagüey, 1866. At 6:30, when all the cigar rollers sat at their desks before their piles of leaves and the foreman rang the bell, María Isabel bent her head, traced a sign of the cross over her shoulders, and took the first leaf in her hands. The lector did the same from his platform over the workers, except in his hands he held not browned leaves but a folded newspaper. "Gentlemen of the workshop," he said, "we begin today with a letter of great import from the esteemed editors of La Aurora. These men of letters express a warm fondness for workers whose aspirations to such knowledge, science, literature, and moral principle fuel Cuba's progress." María Isabel ran her tongue along another leaf's gummy underside, the earthy bitterness as familiar a taste by now as if it were born of her. She placed the softened leaf on the layers that preceded it, the long veins in a pile beside. Rollers, allowed as many cigars as they liked, struck matches and took fat puffs with hands tented over flames. The air thickened. María Isabel had by then breathed so much tobacco dust she developed regular nosebleeds, but the foreman didn't permit workers to open the window slats more than a sliver. Sunlight would dry the cigars. So she hid her cough. She was the only woman in the workshop. She didn't want to appear weak. The factory wasn't large, by Cuban standards, only 100 or so workers, enough to roll for one plantation a mile away. A wooden silo at the center held its sun-dried leaves, darkened papery slivers the rollers would carry to their stations. Next to the silo, a ladder flanked the chair where Antonio, the lector, sat. He cleared his throat as he raised the newspaper. La Aurora, Friday, 1st of June, 1866, he began. "The order and good morals observed by our cigar makers in the workshops, and the enthusiasm for learning, are these not obvious proof that we are advancing?" María Isabel picked through her stack of leaves, setting aside those of lesser quality for filler. "Just go into a workshop that employs 200, and you will be astonished to observe the utmost order. You see that all are encouraged by a common goal, to fulfill their obligations." Already a prickling warmth spread across María Isabel's shoulders. The ache would grow into a throb as the hours passed, so that by the end of the workday, she could barely lift her head. To fulfill their obligations, to fulfill their obligations. Her hands moved of their own accord. The bell would ring, and she'd look at the pile of cigars, smooth as clay, surprised she'd rolled them all. She imagined the layers of brown melding into one another endlessly, desks becoming walls, leaves becoming eyes, and sprouting arms moving in succession until everything and everyone were part of the same physical poetry, the same song made of sweat. Lunchtime. She was tired. A single dirt road in this town led past the factory's gate and continued on to the sugar plantation a mile down, both owned by a Creole family, the Porteños. María Isabel walked this path home, one that snaked through the shadows and gave her brief reprieves from the punishing sun. She thought of Antonio's words. Study has become a habit among them. Today they leave behind the cockfight in order to read a newspaper or book. Now they scorn the bull ring. Today it is the theater, the library, and the centers of good association where they are seen in constant attendance. True that since